Hi guys, it's Miss Acton. You guys are almost third graders. That's crazy. You're almost not second graders anymore. You've only got a few more days. So I'm gonna keep reading nice and light this week. You're doing reading with Miss Acton. I'm not gonna try to make you do read a bunch of passages every day. We're gonna stick with this one passage about these things called tornadoes. So before we get started, hopefully you have an idea of what a tornado is. If you don't, you have two options. You can pause this video, go to YouTube, and type in tornadoes for kids, teaching kids tornadoes, stuff like that, and you can watch some videos if you want. Or you can watch just this little snippet that Miss Acton is going to tell you, or you may already know about them. So tornadoes are these storms that start off in a big storm cloud, and two types of air hit each other. One's really cold and heavy, and one's really hot and thin. When they meet each other, they start to go into a circle around each other. And when they start making that circle, that cloud starts to form in that circle and it creates this giant windstorm called a tornado. And it is destructive, it destroys everything in its path. And what makes them so scary and so crazy is that you can't predict them. A lot of meteorologists, I'll say that again, meteorologists, those are scientists that are scientists of weather. They have studied tornadoes for years and years and years, and they have an idea of thunderstorms that might create tornadoes, but they can only say, hey, you might have a tornado in your area. They can't say, there will be a tornado at 7 o'clock tonight. You need to be in your shelter. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Titus, lay down. Sorry, my dog's click-clacking in the background. I'm sorry. Back to tornadoes. Miss Acton has been obsessed with tornadoes since I was little. And just always something that's been like, it scared me. But because it scared me, I wanted to learn more about them. So I've read a bunch of books and I watch videos all the time. And so when I saw this article that we're going to be reading today, I'll skip to it. I was really excited about it because it talks about one of the most destructive and dangerous tornadoes ever. And just to give you an idea of how destructive it was, here is a picture. That was once a truck that could drive on the road, and it is not anymore. These sticks and branches and things like that once belonged on these trees that had full leaves, and they were beautiful, just like the trees you would see outside Rutherford. And these poles and beams and pieces of wood on here used to be houses. That is crazy, guys. So this tornado, this spinning windstorm that was destructive, that people didn't have a lot of time to plan for because we can't predict them very well, happened in Greensburg, Kansas. And so as I was reading this article, I was like, we're definitely reading this today. These kids will love this. I saw that it happened in 2007, which is about 13 years ago. 13 years ago, guys, you all were not on this planet yet. Um, People didn't really carry around their phones as much as they do now. And some phones didn't even have the ability to take videos. So videos just weren't that common back then. So I was like, what are the odds if I go onto YouTube and type in Greensburg, Kansas tornado, that a video will pop up? And one did. And I started watching it. You guys, when I saw this article, I was like, oh, yeah, the tornado happened in the middle of the day. These people saw it coming. They were able to get in their shelters. The thunderstorm people on the news were able to warn them. You guys, this tornado came in the dead night, pitch black dark. How stinking crazy is that? These people couldn't even see this. So in this video, there's these people that are in a car, and I'm pretty sure they're a storm chaser, which are people that chase storms and help scientists learn more about them. I'm pretty sure that's what they do. They have their camera on the tornado, but you cannot see the tornado until lightning flashes. Lightning, those big bolts that come from the sky and they light up the whole world. Yeah, lightning comes down and it lights it up. So we only get to see this tornado at glimpses. But what's cool is that when we first see it, it's really skinny and small and really looks really like a pencil coming down from the clouds, which is what most tornadoes look like. But as this video goes on and as the lightning flashes, this thing grows to be a mile wide, guys. A mile wide. I don't think you guys understand how big a mile is. Um, but it takes most cars, most humans to run a mile. If you like run a straight line, the average human runs a mile in 10 minutes. So this tornado was as wide as it would take a grown man to run from one end to the other. It would take them 10 minutes. So imagine yourself going outside, starting on the sidewalk outside your house, running down in a straight line for 10 minutes, and from where you started to where you end is how wide this thing was. That's enormous. No, nobody go outside and start running away from your house because your families will probably be upset with me. So don't do that. That's how big this thing was. It was enormous. So let's watch the video. This is really cool. It's kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of creeped me out a little bit, but it's really cool to watch this tornado grow. So in this first part, you'll see the lightning flash, and they're going to freeze the video so you can really see it. There it is right there. So it's really thin and skinny, and it goes straight from that storm cloud down to the bottom. Now, as these people are driving, they're going to freeze the video when the lightning flashes, and you're going to see how this thing is slowly getting bigger, and it's moving across the fields that it's going through. So look, okay, so it's definitely gotten wider. And look at that thunderbolt or lightning bolt going right next to it. Too cool. So it went from being skinny, it's getting wider. As you can see, it was on this side of the road, and now it's moving, and it's pretty much right in front of the road now. And they're following a car that's even closer to it than they are. Like, why are you driving towards this tornado? And you can hear these people, how excited they are. So it was really pencil thin, and it got a little bit bigger. Let's see how big it is the next time the lightning strikes.
Oh my gosh. There's a huge monster on the ground.
They just called it a monster. A huge monster.
Dude, that's
Look at how big it is. Oh, it like makes me like, oh, want to throw up. Could you imagine being somebody who saw that thing coming at your house? Look at how big this thing is, guys. How much it's grown.
that is absolute.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Wow. That
It's so big now that they can't even get a full picture of it.
is absolute monster.
Could you imagine like how many houses that would destroy? So this is kind of showing you like what a weather station would show you how big the tornado is. And this is the teeny tiny city of Greensburg that they were talking about. And this tornado is just swallowing. Let's see one more lightning flash of it, then we'll move on. Oh my gosh, it's huge. Look at it, guys.
Go pretty slowly.
I hope that you're as excited about this as I am. It's just amazing how these things can happen. It's just amazing. All right, so I wanted to show you that video to get you pumped up about this article that we're about to read. All right, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to explore this story about tornadoes, and we're going to comprehend what we're reading. When I say the word comprehend, I just mean we're going to remember what we're reading. Then you on your own in your Google form are going to explore a story about tornadoes. It's the same story. We're not going to give you two different ones. And you're going to comprehend what you're reading, which in a fancy way, you're just going to answer questions about the reading. So just make sure you pay attention, and these questions should be no big deal for you to answer. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is read this story called Spinning Storm. Keep in mind that this tornado that is going on in this story is the exact same one that you just saw in this video. Let's see if we can find a picture of it. That you just saw in this video that was enormous. This thing. That's the exact same tornado, and this is the destruction that it did. All right, let's read our story. Tornadoes can destroy everything they touch. On a spring night in 2007, it said night, and it was definitely at night. Disaster struck a small town in Kansas called Greensburg. Shortly before 10 p.m., so that's like your all's bedtime. So could you imagine going to bed? And again, tornadoes aren't really common in Louisville, Kentucky, so you guys don't really have to worry about this. But could you imagine if you were going to bed, mom said, all right, brush your teeth, you need to go to bed, and you lay down in bed, the mom said, there is a mile-wide tornado coming at her house. That's what these poor kids had to deal with that day. Crazy. A siren went off. A mile-wide tornado was approaching the town. Its winds were more than 200 miles per hour. Winds traveling that fast could pick up an airplane. In less than 10 minutes, the town was destroyed. And we can see right here that it absolutely is. When the storm had passed, people climbed out from their shelters through the rubble and trash. Cars and trucks had been thrown into trees. Homes were crushed or ripped from the ground. 10 people lost their lives. Oh, how sad. So not only did it destroy cars, it destroyed buildings, houses, but it actually was so dangerous that it ended some people's lives. So some people died in the damage of it. That's really, really sad, but that just shows you how dangerous these things are. So let's break down some questions. So first thing I want to know, do you see any words that were kind of maybe bigger words that you might need to use some strategies? And this is just stuff that you should do all the time as a reader. So the first one that I think of is destroy. That's a big word that second graders really don't use that much. You just say, yeah, I tore it apart, or yeah, I broke it. You don't really say I destroyed it. But that's pretty much the same thing it means. Tornadoes can break everything they touch. Tornadoes can tear apart everything they touch. But this author chose to use the word destroy in their article. Next is disaster. Disaster struck a small town. So you could say something bad struck a small town. A tragedy struck a small town. Those are all words that could replace that. But what I mean by strategy, I mean if you take that word disaster and you broke it into its parts, disaster, you would be able to figure out what that word is if you break it into its chunks. That's a strategy. Let's use that strategy to come up with a word that Miss Acton knows most of you guys would have trouble reading, and that is this word right here. I'm not going to tell you what it is. First thing, let's try that strategy. Let's break it apart. Approach. Ing has the ing ending, the ing. Let's use all those chunks and see if we can figure out what this word is. Approach. Ing. Now let's read the sentence and see if we can figure out what that word is. A mile-wide tornado was approaching the town. Approaching the town. It was coming towards the town. It was moving towards it, approaching. That's a strategy that you can use to figure out those big words. Let's see if we can use it with the word destroy we underlined up here. Destroy, like toy. You guys know what the word toy is, and it has the OY ending at the end of it, so you could say oi. When you break all those parts in that word and you read them separately, destroy, you come up with the word destroy. So those are what I'm talking about when I mean words that you need to have a strategy. There's a few more in there, but I wanted to kind of just give you a few examples of how you can use it. Another way or another word that you could use would be maybe like the word shelters right here. Shelters. And you could break it apart. There's some other words in there too, so maybe you could pause the video and try that strategy. All right, what is this text mainly about? Now, Miss Acton has been talking about this whole entire time. Just sit there and think about what is this text about, and what have we been talking about this entire video? Tornadoes. But it's not talking about how tornadoes are formed. Not once in this entire text does this author say anything about how tornadoes are formed. It doesn't talk about the clouds. It doesn't talk about the cold air and the hot air that see each other and they start to go around each other. Doesn't say anything about that. That stuff Miss Acton said. So we have to get a little bit more specific. So is this talking about how tornadoes are formed, how tornadoes are scary, or how tornadoes can destroy a town? Kind of dig a little bit deeper in that. So think about that when you're answering the question on your text that's about like that. Then the last one, do you believe what the author believes to be true? So this author this entire time was trying to convince you that tornadoes can destroy everything they touch. Tornadoes can destroy everything they touch. And then whoever wrote this, gave you thousands of examples. It told you about how they throw trucks and cars into trees, how they can destroy houses, they can kill people, guys. Did this author do a good job of convincing you to believe the same thing they believe, which is that tornadoes destroy everything they touch? Absolutely. If I didn't know anything about tornadoes and I started to read this text, I'm like, what is this thing called tornadoes? And I found out it killed 10 people. Obviously, I'm going to be like, yes, I also believe they destroy everything they touch. What do you mean this thing called a tornado threw a car into a tree? What do you mean? Yes, I will believe that this destroyed it. So, do you think this author did a good job of convincing me and you and your families and whoever else reads this? Do you think that they did a good job of convincing us that tornadoes destroy everything they touch? Absolutely. This author did a great job of that. I believe it, and hopefully you believe it too. So now what your job is to go to your text, and this is the Friday one, you're doing the Thursday one today, is to go into your text, and Miss Acton will have a video right here reading this to you again if you need it read to you again. And then you have some questions to answer about it to tell me how well that you paid attention to the video and how well that you were able to read this and remember the information about it. All right, so you guys have fun, and I will see you tomorrow. We're going to learn some more stuff about tornadoes tomorrow. Bye, guys.